supposedly. Okay, the recording is started. And the first code word is vanilla. Okay, there were a couple of things that I wanted to talk about today. I think that the first one is several people have been rather frantic about when to turn stuff in. And the due dates are there to help people see what's coming up and move things along. Does anybody remember what I said at the very beginning of the term about when everything is due?
Last day of class.
There you go. And even on the day of the final, that's fine. And so if you're getting grades back where the grade is significantly lower than what you thought you deserved, or you wanted to do something to bring it up or whatever, there's plenty of time to do that. One of the reasons I mention that is a lot of people have been stressing out about the annotated bibliography. And the annotated bibliography, we talked about this quite a bit in class. I will tell you that the very best annotated bibliography I have seen had the 8 citations we're looking for, and under each citation were 2 3 to 5 sentence paragraphs. The worst annotated bibliography I've seen so far, somebody did a really crappy job. It wasn't for this class, let me tell you. Somebody did a really crappy job with their citations. You could probably find the article if you were really working on it. And for each thing, they didn't even, for each annotation, they didn't even have a complete sentence. It was just like, oh, this article talks about my artist. Well, so what? That's an assumption that's part of the process. We're all assuming that those articles, those citations, have to do with your artist. I use it as a bad example, and I want you to know for sure that person was not in this class, wasn't even in this semester, and I felt embarrassed for them because it looked like they had not even tried. What I am saying is that a lot of people are really working on this, and they're trying. We are artists. We're not professional writers, so writing is not or shouldn't be the priority for this class. But one of the things I want you to think about when we do this annotated bibliography is pretend in your mind that you are writing this or compiling this for somebody who has no idea who Damien Hirst or Dahosa or any of these artists are. And also assume that they most likely will never see that video you watched or read the article that you read. So what's the important thing about it? What are the important points? And I want you to write 5 to 8 sentences that are actually useful. And the ones that I've read, everybody has gotten a really good start on that. I'll use an example. If you're reading an article about an artist's process, which are always really good articles to read, this is also something that you're going to be using in the back of your mind when you do your PowerPoint presentation later on. But if an artist is talking about their process, you could write one sentence that says, in this article, it's an interview with my artist, and she goes into depth about her process. And the next sentence would be something like, her process begins with her doing this and this, and moves towards this. And then maybe the third sentence would be something like, the end result is a work that is, and then describe how the work is reflects her process. Then the fourth sentence would be, an example of this is in her work, such and such. And the fifth sentence would be, she did these things that you can see in her work, and they show her process. These 3 or 4 different steps. And then the sixth sentence would be something like, I appreciate this article because it really gives me an insight into the workings of an artist that I admire. Right? So that's an example of 6 sentences in one annotation. And you could divide that into 2 paragraphs of 3 sentences each if you wanted to. And that's totally fine. The paragraph count is a lot less important than the sentence count. Do you remember our discussion at the beginning of the term 2 about the time for each of the projects and why working on stuff for a specific length of time is important? Does anybody remember that discussion?
I mean, I remember that we had it, but I don't exactly remember the specifics. Something about, like, I don't know, getting into the flow of the project.
Yeah, I think
It's
that's
been
a
a
good.
while, sorry.
Yeah, no, it has been a while, but that's something that I want everybody to have in their minds too. Yeah, you get into a flow, you get into a zone. Some of the other things that happen is if you do something briefly and then don't return to it, it doesn't really register on the neuronic pathways in your brain. When you spend a concentrated amount of energy on something, and usually that is most easily um, validated by time spent on something, then you have neuronic pathways that start to grow and develop. Your brain is constantly growing, your brain is constantly changing. And the point of this class is to help essentially create new neuronic pathways so that you can really explore your strengths as an artist using 3D as another tool in your arsenal. And so, and the length of time for each project was calculated so that you have the study aspects of it, the preparation aspects of it, and then also just the work itself. When you're doing an annotated bibliography, what this is specifically designed for is to prepare you to do both the PowerPoint and then the opinion essay. And one of the reasons why I'm stressing the number of sentences is not so much that you'll be graded entirely on the number of sentences, but the fact that as you start looking for more things to say, you will actually start looking more into depth and paying more attention to those articles and remembering more about them. I really doubt that anybody who's already submitted an annotated bibliography will need to revisit those articles, but you can sit down and look at the 3 sentences that you wrote and wonder to yourself, well, what else can I write about this? In that process, you're writing more, but in that process, you're also discovering more. And it's very much like that conversation with between those two art historians about the Henry Moore piece that video that we saw a while ago. Because the more they were talking about it, the more they saw, and the more that they saw that they could talk about. So this is something that's important, and I want you guys to think about this because, well, first, just from a completely selfish standpoint, you will get a better grade when you write more on the annotated bibliography. But from another selfish standpoint, as you work on the annotated bibliography and get a little bit better in depth into the artist, you will end up getting a better grade on your PowerPoint presentation as well as your opinion essay, because you'll be able to articulate why you absolutely hate or detest this artist, or why you really, really like them and like the work that they do. So there's some purely selfish reasons for readdressing that annotated bibliography and adding to it. Does anybody have any questions about this? Oh, one thing I did notice too is that everybody has tried really, really, really hard to make sure that they do the exact right format for the citations. And honestly, it's more important that the citations are consistent and your points of reference can be found uh, than the art that you get every comma and period in the exact right location. But one thing that really impresses me is that you guys are trying very hard to make sure everything is exactly right. So kudos for that. Any questions on the annotated bibliography?
Would you recommend that the students that have already submitted an annotated bibliography, would you recommend that they go back and add more sentences if there is room for that?
Oh, absolutely. And that's something that I've been writing as I've been going through and grading them. Resubmissions, everybody's open to do all the resubmissions you want. And what I've been saying is, hey, for full points, this is a really good start, but for full points, add sentences to clarify these uh, different articles. A couple people sent in rather long annotations on a couple of their citations and then really short ones on a couple others. And I would recommend not touching the long ones and just adding to the shorter ones. But not just adding fluff, again, go into a little bit more detail. And the people that I've already submitted, this morning, I'm going to go through and read the rest of those annotated bibliographies this morning. So you'll see you'll see that I have already graded them. And then I want you just to look at my comments and go through and add what you need to. And it's not, again, not mindless fluff, but for example, one person is doing Sandy Skoglund, and one of the articles talked about Sandy's process, and it was just really interesting. And that's one of those things where it'd be very cool to add a couple sentences where you walk through Sandy Skoglund's process with one of her works of art, because that's just a really fascinating and interesting thing just by itself, but it also is a good excuse to write more for the annotated bibliography. That was a good question. Any other questions? Alrighty then. I'm sorry I'm sniffing. It's the whatever's going on in the air. Okay, tools of artistic critique. We have two volunteers today that are going to be sharing. Let's see, Bailey and Hiram. They're going to be sharing a work of art and walking us through the tools of artistic critique. And again, as you guys do this, Bailey and Hiram, pretend that this is the very first time you have ever seen this work of art. Pretend that it's not yours, and talk to us about it as if this is the first time you've seen it. All right. Which of you would like to go first? And remember, when we go through this process, respond to at least one or two of the questions under each of those four headings. Then can you guys tell me what those four headings are? What are the four steps of the tools of artistic critique? What's the first one?
Description.
Excellent. What's the second one?
Analysis.
Yeah. Anybody other? Yes. Any additional students? Excellent. Thank you very much.
Interpretation.
Excellent. Very good. And what's the fourth one? Let's have another student.
Judge.
Judgment. Yes. Excellent. Very good. Those are the 4 steps. Each of those has on that sheet that I sent you on that page. Each of them have several different questions. I would just like you to go through and apply or answer at least 1 or 2 of those questions. And if you want to do more, that's fine. But we don't want to do this for longer than 5 to 8 minutes. Okay, it doesn't have to take an awful long time. All right, Hiram or Bailey, which of you would like to go first?
Sorry, real quick. I couldn't ever find those questions. Where are they at?
If you look on your Canvas, you look under Pages, scroll down to Tools of Artistic Critique. If you also look on Canvas under the module that's labeled Tools of Artistic Critique, open that module. The very first one either has a link to the page or has that page copied in it.
Okay, I got it.
All right. Would you like to go first and share with us on your video? Just show us the work of art that you're critiquing and kind of turn it around and everything, and then apply those tools.
Yes. Let me. Okay. I don't know if you can see this. I'm trying to find a good way. Can you see that good enough?
Yeah. Can you hold it in front of the wall a little bit to your
Yeah.
left,
Here, I'll
and
go
then
like
just
this.
rotate it? Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you kind of turn it around a little bit? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Okay. Here, let me pull up my questions. Okay. So one of the questions I'll do is, if the content of the work of art, if there's literal objects listed. So with the description, I would say, I can tell that there's a lot of curves around these parts to make it look like flowers and kind of make it looks like it's in a more circular, rounded sphere-like form to show that it's more 3D. And then it looks like it's been mounted down here to be able to stand up and spiralize there with the stem attached to it. And then I would say that to combine the two, the wire looks like it was wound up here and then attached right here and then spread out in their 2 different directions. And I think it could use more somehow to add more petals or leaves to the stem to make it look even more realistic. And yeah, to add that extra effect on it. And I think as interpretation, how accessible the work is, I think it could definitely be able to stand better and be able to stand on its own, with a bigger, stronger base of it. But yeah, there's that. Do I need to say anything else, or is that?
Yeah. Could you? I missed your analysis.
Oh, I was just saying, I can see that there's the spiral stem to make it more of an effect to.
Okay, I see.
And just the curves on the petals to make it look more like rounded in 3D, if that makes sense.
All right, yeah, that's great. That's excellent. What do you think the artist's worldview is?
Hmm. Is that just like what the world would think like of it? Sorry, I don't.
Well, the worldview relates to, does the artist seem to have a sense of humor? Like Sandy Skoglund, even though she will do things that are rather um, dramatic or make political statements, it's also obvious that she has a sense of humor that's a little dark.
Oh, okay.
You know, what is this? Do you think that this person has? Are these more intended to be very serious, realistic works? Or are they intended to be slightly more humorous? Are they intended to uh, be fun? That kind of a thing. What do you think the artist's worldview is?
I would say just fun, just something that we see on an everyday basis type of thing, not anything too crazy. I don't know.
All right. Then what's the last step there?
The judgment.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say to add petals along the stem more to make it, or sorry, leaves to make it even more realistic, and maybe even bring out some petals a little more just out on the bottom to make it look more fuller and just more realistic and a just stronger base so it can stand easier. But
All right. I think this is a really good example of, for the first um, round of applying the tools of artistic critique. So thank you, Bailey, very much.
mm-hmm.
All right. And let's do Hiram. Oh, and I'm sorry. Before we move on, the second code word is inspired by Bailey. It is floral. So thank you very much for being brave and being the first person. All right, Hiram.
Can everyone see me, or is it just you that can see me, Professor?
I know I can see you. Can everybody else see him?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. And I'm not quite sure. Here, one sec. Let me reposition my computer so you guys can see. My computer doesn't want to focus. One second.
I think you have your background blurred.
I
That's probably
do.
what it is. Nice.
How do I change that?
You right click on your camera icon. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Notice that when you guys
that?
talk about technical computery stuff, I stay completely quiet. Oh, that turned out real good. Good shot, Hiram.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So for this project, it looks like the artist was trying to make an octopus. I can see several different kinds of wire. It looks like the artist used thicker wire when making the body. I don't know if that was for structural reasons or for aesthetic purposes. but I see a mix of braided wire and of barbed wire that forms the actual body, and thinner, more artistic wire to form the tentacles and the patterns that add more depth or design to the body and to the tentacles of the artwork. Along with the actual octopus itself, I can see 2 fish that the artist has added to the piece. One is held in the front by 2 tentacles, and one is actually inside the actual piece, suspended by another piece of jewelry wire. I believe this piece is realistic. It's identifiable as an octopus. It has patterns on it that a normal octopus wouldn't necessarily have, but it's still identifiable as an octopus. So I think counts as realistic, slightly abstract in patterns applied to it, but the actual octopus is realistic enough, I suppose. On the actual patterns for the octopus, it looks like the artist, like I said, used, I don't know how well you guys can see those, but it looks like the artist used different colors of artist wire and formed multiple different patterns, not just the same pattern repeating, but like we've got a star and multiple weaving patterns that are added, all with different colors and what looks like different thicknesses of the wire and of the weave itself. That goes for the tentacles as well, though not to the same extent as the weave and design that was added to the body of this piece. I quite like the different colors that were added to this piece. I think it gives it more depth and flair. And for those of you that are familiar with octopus anatomy, flair is something that octopus are actually well known for. They're very good creatures of camouflage, and they change their color quite regularly and can actually assume different patterns and textures in their skin when they're trying to escape detection or frighten off predators. So I think that was, or could be interpreted as being part of the, what am I looking for? Inspiration that the artist took into account when creating this piece. For mood, it seems to me, because of the coloration of the piece, the mood is light and cheerful. I mean, I don't know if I would say this octopus is happy, but he's already eaten a fish and going for a second one, so I would say that's a pretty happy octopus. As for my own interpretation of the piece, I think the work is quite accessible. I mean, it's sizable enough where it'd be kind of hard to lose it, but it's small enough where I can handle it freely and without fear of damaging myself due to weight. That kind of helps that it's made of wire. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm trying to see the screen with my octopus and the screen with all the questions at the same time. Okay. The worldview of the artist, I would say, can be at least alluded to due to the designs on the piece itself. It can take many different forms. It can be eccentric. It can be sharp and pokey. Ever-changing, never really quite the same, but similar to itself in multiple different ways. As for judgment, I think the artist was successful in creating this piece, seeing as it looks like an octopus. It is identifiable as an octopus. It has measurements of depth and patterns in it that allude to that depth, but also still help maintain artistic flair. I would like to see the girth and the depth of the tentacles match that of the body itself. Even though that wasn't achieved, I can tell that the artist took time to add to the tentacles to at least help match the design of the rest of the piece. And I do appreciate that, even though I would like to see more from this artist on this piece. But I think it's a beautiful piece of work. I can tell a lot of time went into it, and I can appreciate the time that the artist went into creating these little designs and different weaving patterns. And personally, I think it's quite impressive because I know the artist was on a time limit when it came to this project specifically. And if I may add, that is why the tentacles are smaller, because I was on a time limit. But there's that.
I think one thing that is really cool about this is seeing the scale as you're holding it. It's quite a bit larger than I expected just seeing just the photo of it. So I think that turned out really nice. Are you familiar with the illustrator or the artist James Thurber? He wrote a lot of really sarcastic work, but he also did sketchy line drawings, and that reminds me a lot of his work, as well as some of the sketches that Tim Burton does. So I kind of like that sense of humor. And the third code word is inspired by Hiram's work today. It's cephalopod. All right. Thank you, Hiram, very much. Hiram and Bailey, you guys both did a great job. That is excellent.
Thank you.
Now, what we'll need to do, we have 20 people in this section. What we'll need to do is, over the next couple of weeks, everybody will need to figure out when you're going to apply those tools of artistic critique to your own work or somebody else's work. And we'll have to start going through, in every class, have at least 2 people talk about stuff. I think if we do that, we'll be able to get everything through. So today, this week's participation exercise, I just need you to think about when you want to do that. And I think, looking at both Bailey and Hiram, I think these are really good examples of how we apply the tools of artistic critique in an actual critique setting. And I think that their time that they took to do it was just right. I mean, not too long, but long enough to cover the important points of what they were trying to describe. So think about that. who would like to volunteer to do this on their own work or one of the works at school for our class on Tuesday? Who would like to volunteer to do this on Tuesday?
I'll do one.
Okay, excellent. One other person?
Do you mean Thursday? Because we meet in class on Thursday?
No, we also meet on Thursday. I'm asking about Tuesday right now, and then in just a
Okay,
second,
my bad.
I will ask about Thursday. So I need a second person for Tuesday. We could do Grace or Camilla or Sarah or Kayla.
This is Kelly.
Okay, and you are coming Tuesday morning, right?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So we've got 2 people there. Now, for Thursday, who wants to volunteer for Thursday? We need 2 people. Rachel, would you like to do it?
Sure.
Okay, that's one person. Who else would like to do it on Thursday? David, do you want to do it?
I'll in Thursday on class, like I've already done my, critique, but I'll critique who else is going Thursday? I'll critique theirs.
Oh, is it okay? Who is it else is going Thursday? Rachel?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I am.
I'll
Okay.
critique Rachel's while I'm at it because I was the first one to go, so I did mine already.
Okay, excellent. That sounds really good. I like that. Is that all right with you, Rachel?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, excellent. And then anybody would like to critique on Friday, think about that. And as we get closer, just let me know in class when we get to that point. All right? But that sounds really good. And then David, that'll be your second one. You can submit both of those, and you won't have to worry about it.
Sweet, awesome.
Excellent. Very good. Okay, there's an observation that I want. Thank you very much, guys. Moving on, there's an observation I want to make about the structure with skin submissions we've been getting. A couple, I'm really astounded by what people have been doing. I have noticed that in times past, people get a little bit confused. Do you guys remember how big the modules are supposed to be that you make for the structure with skin sculpture?
I believe you said at least 12 to 13-ish inches.
Well, the whole thing itself, but do you remember the size of the modules to build to go into that?
Like a couple inches, 2, 3, right?
Yeah, about the size of a fist or a baseball, something like that. I have gotten a couple of submissions where people thought that was the overall size of the thing itself, apparently, and that's the size of the thing itself should be at least a foot, made up with several modules that are about the size of your fist. And one thing is to keep in mind is that this does need to be 3-dimensional. I think that is a really difficult thing for people when you guys, you're all professional artists, you make your living working with 2D, and this can be kind of a struggle. So if you have any questions or concerns about that, get a hold of me. But sometimes one easy way to resolve it is when you make your module and it's flat, fold it. And then make that new folded shape your module. Don't fold it flat, but fold it so that it becomes a 3-dimensional form. So instead of folding it flat, fold it to 90 degrees or 60 degrees. And sometimes that can really open up a new way of looking at things. But that's one thing. And then the next is, remember next week we're going to be dealing with cardboard. Does anybody have access to just flat boxes, cardboard boxes, anything like that, recycled cardboard?
Yeah, I moved a couple months ago, so I got plenty.
Would you be able to sacrifice some of your hard-earned cardboard and bring it on the train?
I can see. I can see what I can do.
Okay, that'd be truly awesome. Anybody else?
I got cardboard. I hang on to boxes just in case I need them. So let me
Well,
get rid of some of them, please.
okay, that's awesome. That's great. And then if everybody can bring like at least one piece of cardboard, that's great. But we got Emma and David. Sounds like they're going to be supplying our class with most of our sculptural materials. So excellent. That sounds great. But this is a fun opportunity to recycle in a little bit different way as well than what we normally think of. Who is having a backtracking just a little bit? Who is having a really good time with the Structure with Skin project, and who is struggling? Is there anybody who really feels like they're struggling with this?
I mean, I had like
mine because I didn't like the first one and it looked just really messy, and so I decided to redo it with different joining medium to help clean it up a little bit. And now it's sitting here and I'm like, I think I want to add more to it now. Like, I just have held off on turning it in because I don't feel like it's quite visually interesting enough yet. But yeah.
No, I think that's completely valid. And um, I really like the fact that you're self-critiquing as well. You know, looking at it and say, well, I don't think it's what I'm hearing is you're not saying so much I don't think it's good enough, but you're more saying like I don't think it's really truly interesting to another viewer. I don't think it's a fair exploration of my talents, and I don't think it's a fair exploration of the the process. Because, and you didn't say any of those things, but when you're talking about it, that's what it sounds like your concerns are, and I think those are really good concerns to have. I think it can be kind of dangerous when we start questioning ourselves to the point where we say things like it's just not good enough. But when we're asking ourselves, is it interesting to somebody? Does it explore this properly? Is it fascinating to me? I think those are really intelligent questions to ask. So very good. Is there anybody that is thinks that they are just knocking this out of the park? That they think that this is just they're making the best thing ever?
No, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
Okay, excellent. All right, I'm gonna go through and do roll really fast. Kayla, are you here? Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Sarah,
Yes, I'm here.
Camilla,
Here.
excellent. Nicole,
I'm here.
all right. Bailey, I hope you're here because I thought I heard you earlier.
Yeah, here.
Madeline, Emma, you're here.
debatable, but
At least part of you. Okay, Grace, Emery, you're here, right? Grace? Okay, Kelly, are you here?
Sorry, yes, I'm here.
Okay. Catherine? How about Taylor?
Hello.
All right. JC? Alexis?
Here.
All right. Brianna? Brooke, are you here? Lauren?
Yep, I'm here.
Excellent. David, I hope you're here. Otherwise, I'm hearing all of us are hearing the same voice.
Still here. No, I've got a soundboard just to pretend I'm here. It has automatic replies built in.
Awesome. How about Rachel?
I'm here.
Excellent. And Summer? All right. Okay, as soon as I get the recording, it will take anywhere from 15 minutes to like a day. I will put it up on the YouTube platform that we're using and send that link to everybody. If you have any questions about stuff that's we've been talking about, especially with like the cardboard process coming up, please let me know. And again, I really appreciate Hiram and Bailey and David being the first three people to do or to apply the tools of artistic critique. That can be intimidating being the first person, but it certainly helps. It helps quite a bit. Are there any more questions before we end today? Alrighty then. I hope you guys, if you do have any questions on the annotated bibliography or anything, make sure that you email me. If you have any questions on anything else, let me know. And I will see you guys Tuesday and Thursday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Alrighty? We'll see you guys later. Sure.
Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Thank you. See you later.
All right, we'll see you.
Thank you.